All right. So now for my playoffs. Not that I didn't give you enough racing already, but now we're all right. All right. Round one. We're going to open back up at Chicagoland. It's still hot. It's going to be greasy. So we're going to open at Chicagoland. Then we're going to go to Atlanta while it's still hot in the summertime, fall, summer. Atlanta's really hot that time of
I
year.
thought you'd already been to Atlanta.
Nope. I have not been to Atlanta yet.
Okay, I must have misunderstood something earlier.
Nope. This is the only plate track in the playoffs, and it's the only real wild card, in my opinion. The
Okay,
Roval, not a wild card
all
at
right.
this point. So the only wild card is in the first round. There are no wild cards going forward, and it sits between 2 mile and a halfs where this car shines. So you're going to have an opportunity to, uh, you know, have a makeup chance before you go into the next round and get cut. So we go Chicagoland, Atlanta, Kansas. So,
Okay.
all right. Then two folks will get eliminated. Your points do not get reseeded. Wherever you finish is where you're at. Any points you accumulated in terms of bonus points just get added to what you've accumulated and you keep going forward. Then we go to Darlington, Bristol, and the Roval. So we go big, small,
Is
crazy.
Darlington on Southern 500? Is it the
That's the plan is for this to fit to the schedule of that. I just got to look
okay?
at the calendar and see, but that would be my plan. If it needed to move into the prior round, I would move it and then move either Chicago or Kansas forward
Yeah.
to
I
line with
I
the
was this
500.
close to making it my championship race,
Yep,
and I didn't because
I
it's
agree.
got to be
I love
the
that tradition, so I want to keep it in either the first or second round so it can stay there. Bristol is still, if we have to go to Bristol, to me, Bristol always races best at night.
yep.
So I wanted to keep it in the fall, and then the Roval. And then the final round, we go Martinsville, Homestead, and Vegas. And Homestead and Vegas can flip flop from year to year as to who hosts the championship. They're both warm enough to do it, both provide you with fantastic racing. And you're going to have your beating and banging leading into it. But the way my playoffs are laid out, you're, you're essentially your champion is going to be the rightful and best driver that season. No question about it.
Right.
So,
Sounds pretty good.
so with all that, we'll go back to the part of, I cut it to 26 for a reason. To me, 36 races is too much. Giving you 26 races in the regular season, like we have today, is too much time to make up for mistakes and gives you too much time to play science experiments. I don't want teams playing science experiments, and I don't want them, not researching, but I don't want them basically thinking that you have all these mulligans. I want you to have to perform at peak condition from the time we drop the very first flag all the way to the end. But I'm going to give you a break in that 3 weeks between Daytona and the playoff kickoff because you're going to have Daytona a week off, All Star a week off, to where you can focus on your playoff stuff. And so your head doesn't have to be, the All Star is $2 million, but it's not has no championship implications. Just go have fun, take the people to the stars to the people. But I don't want anybody to let up. I don't want a Jimmy Johnson type season or a Joey or Larson or anybody to win 2 or 3 races in the first half and then think that they're safe and that they don't have to perform the rest of the year because you're not going to have time to give up a large chunk or you're going to get out of your rhythm and then another team may take your spot and by the time you get back in your rhythm it's too late. So I want you to have to, for those 26 weeks, you have to give me everything you got. I want this season to wear you out. When you're done, nothing's left on the table.
Okay. My question is,
Sure.
how many tracks did you leave out by doing this lower
A
schedule?
lot. A lot. And by
I'm
doing
trying
that,
to
I
think
think
off the top of my head because I don't think you have New Hampshire.
nope. I no, I did. I
And
went Pocono, New
you did.
Hampshire.
Okay,
Yep.
New Hampshire. I was trying to think of places you left
But
out.
I didn't go to Indy. I didn't go to Lime Rock. You went to those. Where else did you go that I didn't go to?
Well, I realized
Um,
I I did accidentally leave out Chicagoland. I thought I put it in there, but
I gave them back. I gave them in Kentucky back their races. This car runs fantastic on mile and a half tracks. It should be at there right now. There's no legitimate reason other than Ben Kennedy's an idiot.
mhm.
So
Well, not to mention also Marcus Smith.
Well,
I
yeah,
don't know.
the two of them together are idiots at this point. Some of
Yeah,
the things they're doing.
Marcus Smith runs. He runs the Coda race. Why?
Yeah.
You
Yep.
don't own that track.
I left Coda out. We're not going to Coda. Coda was built for Formula One cars. We are not a Formula One car. It's too wide. It's too
I am
long.
interested to see how the cars run on the short track, the shorter
I
road.
agree. I think the shorter track should be interesting, but I still think the overall problem. So, the reason to me why you get better racing at Sonoma, Watkins Glen, Road Atlanta, Road America, these were purpose built tracks for stock cars back in the day or GT cars, pro am, um, Le Mans style cars. And as a result, they have natural track limits. Coda has false track limits. You pave sections of track, but you tell me not to run there. If it's paved, you should be allowed to run there. So if you don't want me shortcutting the course, then don't take me somewhere I can shortcut the
Well,
course.
also don't pull the turtles out.
Right.
That's
Well,
what
yeah.
happened the first year of Coda.
Well,
They had the rumbles in, and then before the race started, they took them all out. Well, if you keep those there, you're gonna have to you're gonna have to self police yourself, or you're gonna damage your car.
I agree, but my problem with that is, and you can make the same argument by sending them to some of these other places, but my problem with that is man-made barriers like that injected into the track have the ability to come loose and be dangerous. They also have the ability to hurt the drivers just in general and the fans. Because if you run over that thing and the car gets airborne or out of control and the driver no longer has control over it, where's it going to go? More than likely, and you got fans all over the place around the stands. I would rather the cars be policed by the natural barriers of the dirt and the grass, and then you've got the tires and the safer barriers and stuff around. Like, and that's to me, that's why Watkins Glen, the track in Canada, like all these places, when these were made, they weren't made like their new state of the art Formula One tracks that are made today, like over in Beijing and Abu Dhabi and all those that are super wide for 200 plus mile an hour, which these cars won't do on a road course anyway. With these high arcing, high speed turns, like our cars just don't perform there. We don't have any business being on them. And not when you have all these other good places we could go. We could go to Road America. We could go to Road Atlanta. We can go to Laguna Seca. We can go to
VIR.
Barber VIR. We can, we have all these options. Why are we going here? A place that doesn't show, again, the whole point, not only I'm shrinking the schedule, but I want to showcase the best of my sport. That doesn't showcase the best of my sport to me, not as a fan. The cars get too spread out. They're not really on top of each other. We had one good race with that Coda so far, one. The rest of them have been subpar. So it's not a must, it's not, to me, it's not a must attend race, and it's somewhere you can't really see everything. So let's take it out. It's gone. So I didn't go to Indianapolis. Not that I don't think it's a good track, but it seats 400,000 people. If we can't draw the crowd, I think it looks more negative on us by being there than positive. So let's go to IRP instead, where we can sell it out and it's going to put on a better show. I like going to Indy, but if we're going to go to Indy, I want the fans to support it. If they're not going to support it, then we don't need to go there.
Okay.
Lime Rock, I completely forgot about.
Well,
Road
if I
America
had to
was on my
remember
list.
Chicagoland, if I had to remember Chicagoland, I probably would have either put in Chicagoland where Canadian Tire Motorsports Park is, or Lime Rock, one or the other. I would have taken one of those two out and put Chicagoland in. I can't believe I missed that, but
But I
I
will
think I was
say,
doing so many moving around deals that
yeah,
I missed it.
in my 26 race schedule, nobody is guaranteed a race the following year. If you are a track that goes in there and messes with the system and you don't talk to us, if you decide you're going to grind the pavement and not talk to NASCAR, you're going to add sealer and not talk to us, or do something that alters the outcome of the race, then guess what? And it ends up being bad, you get punished for it. I'm not being punished for it because you punished my fans. I'm taking your race away and I'm going to give it to one of these that I didn't use. And there's plenty of other places that want it. So all these races that I'm starting with, the following year, everything goes back in the pot. We look at it and say, okay, what did well, what didn't, and where did we not go that maybe we could slot into something else this year?
Yep.
Okay, so we went to ORP this year, and next year we might go to, Lime Rock instead, or maybe Rockingham moves there, and instead of Rockingham being earlier in the year, we go to, we go somewhere else. So I mean, or
Right.
to Iowa. Like I left Iowa off. That wasn't my plan. I completely forgot about Iowa because we haven't gone there in so long. For anything, I forgot all about it. But it would make my it would make one of my alternate tracks. So, and I think you retain crowd desire by doing it that way too, so that by keeping them moving around and keeping a not fixed schedule for certain events, you give other markets an opportunity. Maybe we'll go to Portland or Port Royal or something like that. But if for some reason we really wanted to do dirt and inject dirt back into it, we're not going
I
to a
personally
makeshift.
don't.
I don't think that's what we are. We started on dirt, but Bristol dirt the third year did race really nice. But I don't think that if we're going to go run dirt, we should be at Bristol. We should be at Knoxville. We should be at a true dirt track where you showcase your dirt abilities. And the only reason why I think dirt maybe should come back in the future is because of the Christopher Bells, the Kyle Larsons, the Ricky Stenhouses, all these guys with these dirt backgrounds that have come in
None of them
and
wanted it.
and they didn't really want it, but the fan groups want to see it. So if for some reason we're going to put them on dirt, we're going to a real dirt track. We're not going to some makeshift crap. We're going to one where they genuinely know how to build and prep a dirt track. We're going to let the experts build the track. I think we'll get a better race. And they would probably then want to do it. But I also left that as an option. Instead of, I don't want it to be a points event because it's too much of a wild card. We can make it part of the All-Star. It could be part of that rotation of the All-Star races.
And with what you're saying, not like if you want to race, you need to keep things up. We kind of touched on it last week, but
Yeah.
um, you need to make sure that your amenities are good for the
Yes.
fans. We spoke about Darlington, and we really need to do that. And with that, I think you would agree. We are NASCAR right now. NASCAR with SMI need to do the right thing. Go into Bristol, tear it up, and put back the old pavement.
Yep.
And it's not the old pavement, but put it at the same banking it used to be.
Yep. The same even banking all the way top to bottom.
Yeah, I believe it was 33 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm 33 or 36, I can't remember. But it's one of those two. And bring back Old Bristol. The moment you tell the fan base, hey, we're repaving Bristol and we're putting it back to 307, the place instantly sells out and you got
Mm-hmm.
an instant classic again.
Yep.
And you know
And I'd make it
why they
asphalt. I don't
haven't
think I
done
would
it.
go back to concrete again. I think I'd make it asphalt again because it's going to
Well,
eat the tires more.
they they can't do asphalt because of the fact before when it was asphalt, they would have to repave it every 3 years. It actually makes a groove into the asphalt.
Yeah.
That's why they stopped. That's why they went to concrete was because it was tearing the asphalt up because of all the
The
um,
pressure and everything.
pressure
I
on it.
can
Yeah,
understand
that's
that,
why they
but
went to concrete.
I think I would be willing to at least maybe one
It
time.
was putting literal ruts into the track.
Well, I think I would repave it one time with asphalt. And if I had to go back and repave it again, then we go back to concrete. Same banking, just we go back to concrete. But the reason why I say the asphalt is going to eat the tires more. And we've learned so much about asphalt since then. I think they can fix that problem now. I think there's things they can do to address the degradation of the lower groove. And I think you still end up with a two groove racetrack because the asphalt's going to wear more than the concrete does for the groove. So you'll be able to
Well,
move
the
on
whole
your
the
own.
whole point of Old Bristol was somebody's in your way on the bottom, you move on the way.
Oh, I still think that's going to be there. But I do think that it gives you the ability to move up a lane, lane and a half. I don't think you're ever going to rip the top on Bristol if it's asphalt. I think that will never happen. You'll be going too fast. You'll be into the wall. It'll be like a mini Darlington, like you just be skipping around, which would be interesting.
Or Larson.
Yeah, just Paul Larson, just drop that friggin' hammer. But yeah, I'm with you in terms of, and that's another incentive with the short track, the shorter schedule is if I give you a race and you get that money for that market and you do not invest in your facility and I come back and I give you the second race and I come back and you haven't improved amenities and I see,
You haven't touched
outdated
it.
bathrooms, outdated, not proper handicap access, bad parking management. If you're not spending the money that I'm giving you out of this TV deal, this breakup that's happening, this $10 billion deal appropriately, and you're just lining your pockets, I mean, there should be profit in you, yes, but If I'm making it so you have golden S, M, and I on your gates, Marcus Smith, and then my track presidents under ISC, then you know what? You're losing a date. I'm only going to take this sport to places that will take my money. And the whole reason I want the fans to show up, they should be showing up to, we're the top motorsport in the United States. Our racetracks should be like Formula One tracks in terms of presentation, amenities, everything like that. The asphalt doesn't have to be the newest because the older it gets, the better it's going to race. But in terms of your seats, the seats should be leather cushioned and comfortable, and there should be room for your drink and food and stuff with the downturn in the crowds. And maybe that kind of experience will get the crowds to fill in more, and we'd actually start putting stands back because,
Yeah.
the version of Richmond I race in my sim racing game, it stands all the way around. Well,
Mm-hmm.
Richmond today, there's no back straight there after the exit of turn two. There's no stands until the exit of turn four, coming to the front
Mm-hmm.
stretch. Okay, so that's probably 30,000 people gone that you used to have. Well, why did they leave? Because you stopped sealing the track because the product got bad. You messed with the car and it stopped racing well at short tracks. If you fix these things and you invest in the track, I used to go to Richmond all the time. You bring back the speedway terrace events and all the concourse stuff. I incentivize my partners. It's not enough that you want to be associated with our sport. If you say, if you come in, let's say Hyundai comes in as a fourth manufacturer, in order to come join us, I have a checklist of all the criteria now that, and all the manufacturers will have to buy into it. And I think they would, but any new manufacturer would have to buy into it as well and say, at these 26 races, you will have an activation zone for your stuff. You will have, and it must be, and we will, based on the space around the track, we will pick the amount of square footage and divvy it up. Here's your spot. You have 800 square feet for TRD placement of vehicles. And, if you want to have a performer or a tire changing thing or whatever, but we're going to put back the stuff that made fans want to come and spend a week in there. I
Mm-hmm.
remember going to Richmond and learning how to change tires, and you got to try, and they put people's names and their best times, like 30 seconds, trying when you're doing the five lug nut change and taking it on and off. And like, it's so much harder than it looks. All that stuff that you used to be able to do, I want that back because that's what made people show up. Now, you and I go to Bristol or Richmond or, uh, you know, Daytona or whatever. If there's nothing outside to do, really, I just need to show up for race day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the whole point is for me to give you an experience. I want you to have an experience, not just come to a race. I want it to be an event. I want you to want to plan your whole weekend around it once a year, twice a year, depending on how many events you can afford to go to.
Yep.
But, and with the shorter schedule and there being 26 races.
And also try to work with your hotel
Yep.
people near you and say, hey, I know you need to make money, but can you lower it a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
Help us help you. If you lower it, then we'll have more people here.
Yep.
You don't need to make $500 a night.
Yep. If you were to bring it down, then you've got more people in your restaurants, more people in your every, service around the area is benefiting by everybody working together, which to the point, the TV contract, now my schedule reduction, the TV contract stays the same, which means there's more purse money per event. So you're going to get paid more to win these races. And again, more incentive. You cannot afford to let
Mhm.
off the throttle. Instead of winning, let's say $1 million per race as the winner, you might be winning 2 million, 3 million a race because it's
Do
still
you
10 billion.
think the TV partners would be okay with that? Realistic. Do you think TV partners would be okay with something like that?
I think they would be okay with it if I incentivized the pre-race activities. If I gave you a point for fastest lap average in qualifying or fastest lap average in practice. Because I'm shortening the schedule, yes, but I'm extending back out some of the other
You're
stuff.
bringing back Fast Friday.
I want Fast Friday.
Um,
I want it to be an experience. I want them to be there. So you're going to have an hour of practice on Friday. You're going to have a practice and qualifying, like maybe a 20-minute practice and qualifying session on Saturday. But you're going to have a reason to, but you're also going to be like F1 in that I don't care how spoiled you are, how long you've been here, whether you're new or old. If you want to race in my series on my 26 events, Every single one of you will have their ass in a seat at a table for autograph sessions for an hour. Every one of you, every driver in those 36 seats will be present every Saturday or Friday.
Have a clock behind them showing,
Yep.
hey, there's this much time left. That way, if you see
Yep.
your hundredth in line, there's 10 minutes left. Well, I'm not going to get an
Yep.
autograph
And that's
unless
part of
that
your
guy decides
license.
to
That's
go.
part of your racing license agreement. It's a privilege to race at this level. If you don't want to do that, then we'll fine you. I'll fine the living hell out of you. If I can't
Mhm.
get it through to you on money, I'll take it out of you on championship points.
Yeah,
Because then,
after the third time, you're getting points taken away.
yep, the third violation of not part of non-participants, of non, you're going to be there. You're going to put a smile on. You get to race a car for a living, so you're going to put a smile on your face. You're going to sign those autographs. You're going to take those pictures with those fans that spent their hard-earned money to come to these events, so that you can fly in and out on your helicopter, have your driver bring you your motor home to the track, whatever, and allows you to live your life. This is the least you can do, is sign a nice autograph and say thank you for the privilege of being there. Because again, I've got 26 races. You're getting paid more per race, and you're
Hmm.
you're you're doing less for me than you were before under a 36 race schedule. So I'm giving you more in return because you're getting more time with your family for more money, but for less total output because you're not having to race 10 additional races. So you're getting more family time, more quality time. You should be happier. Your mind shouldn't be in other places because I've given you more of your year back. Now, what your team owner does with that's between you and your team owner and your sponsors. But as far as my obligations for you as a driver at the track, I have very much shrank the schedule, shrank those commitments. But now you're there for those 3 day weekends again. And a big part of it's fan engagement. A big part of it is cars on track because we're going to reward that performance. You're going to go out there and you're going to practice, but there's going to be a reason to, you're going to want to show up fast. You're going to want to practice fast. You're going to want to qualify fast. There's points incentives,
Yeah.
and it's almost going to be a race within the race. And then you're going to show
Hmm.
up and you're going to go. And, the competition's already super tight. So does it really matter that I gave you an hour of practice? Not really in terms of that, but it will give you the ability to, if we had longer practice sessions when this car rolled out, we probably would have found a lot of the problems we found with it a lot sooner. The rubber buildup and the fires, the stuff with the mud flaps, um, the exhaust fires and the door foam when they tried the mufflers, the toe link issues anytime you touch a wall, all these little things that we've learned and adapted, the heat, all the things we would have learned by having longer practice. And the teams are going to be there anyway, so we might as well be on the track.
How much time we got?
Probably 20 minutes or so.
Okay.
So we got time.
So
We can talk about
you
anything
just
else
brought
you're
up
ready for now.
totally. You just brought up totally.
Yep.
Are you good with getting rid of DVP? DVP was brought on when we had sheet metal cars.
Yep.
We don't have that now, so we don't need DVP in my opinion. Will you agree?
I agree. I think so. The way I think DVP should work, there shouldn't be a clock. If you get wrecked, you can come in and here's a list of things you can touch. If it's outside of this list of things that you can touch, then you're done for the day. And there will be things that way we don't go back to the era where they're dragging these massive crash carts down the pit road, but they're replaceable. And you've got as much time as you want to replace it, depending on the size of the track, unless you go, you know, to me, if you end up 10 laps down, you're out of the race anyway. You're not going to make up 10 laps.
Well, I can't agree with that. I mean,
No, you don't think so?
no, because I mean, you I know there's been times in the past where somebody was 60 laps down, and when it was 60 to go, they passed a car that had wrecked after them that was out of the race, that they got that extra point or two, depending on what
That's
happened
fair.
later. So I'm not. I mean, that's the whole point of that I was wanting to bring up is DVP. Like I said, was brought in when we had sheet metal cars. These cars no longer have parts just falling off all the time.
Oh, I agree. I
So
mean, they're tanks
so
essentially.
so you wreck a car, yeah, it looks wrecked, but if you can fix your toe link and you can fix your this or that, you can get back out there. Yeah, you're not going to be allowed to touch the engine still and stuff like that, but uh, I believe just get rid of DVP altogether. And if it takes you, if you're on lap 10 of Bristol and it takes you 150 laps to fix it, it takes you 150 laps. Maybe somebody wrecked 10 laps later and out of the race. You
Okay,
get
so
a
maybe we don't make
another
it.
couple
And
points.
I think again, I would vary it by the track size. So 10 laps at Bristol is very quick. So for Bristol, I'd say if you end up 30 laps down, you're done. And the reason why I say that is think about the race you and I went to at Bristol this fall, and they passed that Arby's car. I'm trying to remember who it was. That was in
So
it.
you're saying the moment he hits 30 laps down, he's done.
Yes, because I don't want him out there affecting the result of the race. If you're not competitive, you're going to impact who wins the race. And I want the winner of the race to be the rightful winner, not a late debris caution because you shouldn't have been out there in the first place. If you can't show, because, and the whole another point of it is I want the 36 best race car drivers on track. I don't want any scrubs. Not that some of these, all these guys are good race car drivers, but I don't want any subpar teams. This is supposed to be the best. I want it to be the 36 best race cars we could put on the track, or 32 or 28.
How many laps down do you think he was?
Uh, who was it first off?
Josh Bilicki, I believe it
Josh
was.
Bilicki. Okay. I'm gonna say
Yes, Josh
I
Bilicki.
feel like we watched him lap him every other lap. I feel like 50.
He was 33 laps down.
Okay, so he'd have been out. But he would
Yeah,
have
probably with 50 to go, but
right. But I mean, so at Bristol, 30 is a good number then. At Talladega, maybe it's 10 laps because you get the big win
just
at
think about that. A car that had no issues
yep.
was 33 laps down.
Right. So should they have been in the field in the first place? No.
No.
If you can't stay within 5 laps of the best car, I mean, yeah, I mean Kyle Larson was on a rail that night, no doubt about it. But if you can't even stay within 5 laps, you shouldn't be on the same track as the rest of those guys. And that's not anything against whoever's driving the car. That's the team. The whole point was to get rid of starting parks and all that to have the best drivers on track, the best cars on track. If you're 30 laps down, you're not a best driver in a best car. There's no way you can make that argument that you deserve to be there with the other guys that are in there racing
So
or
that's kind of,
get some.
that kind of goes, that's not even a part of DVP though. That car was never in a wreck. So you would personally probably make a new rule where if you have no issues with your car and you go X amount of laps down, depending on the track,
Yeah.
just go park your car.
Yep. Yep. Because again, I don't want if this I want the second place guy to catch you and pass you because he's better than you and he outdrove you. Not because you got held up by somebody who's 5, 10, 15 laps down who shouldn't be out there to begin with. People are naturally going to fall laps down at Martinsville. So I'm going to make it a higher number. Naturally go down laps faster at Bristol, make it a higher number. But I am not going to make it so low where you just eliminate somebody who shouldn't be eliminated. But I don't want the outcome of the race to be dictated by somebody who is not competitive. And I'm not talking like they just didn't have it that day, that are not competitive off the truck, period. And they're known not to be competitive. Like you're in a back marker car, and we look at the averages, and maybe the first 5 races I give you a grace period. And after those 5 races, we look at your finishing average and say, okay, I now know that you're not performing at the level you should. If you fall off, then I'm just going to start parking you. I'm going to make it, and I'm going to free up your charter to somebody who wants to be there, who is willing to put the money in and put a car on the track that is
66 is in the charter car. What happens to that?
what now?
The 66 is not chartered. So what are you doing there?
Oh, I wouldn't have any non-chartered cars. We're this is
Okay.
I and this is a different discussion maybe for a different day, but I think there's a big problem with NASCAR's system today. We say we want to evolve the sport, but we don't want to get too far away from the heritage of it. But you can't, and then in that same sentence, turn around and say, I've got the best drivers and stock car drivers in the world on the track every Sunday if you've got people in there who shouldn't have a license to race in Cup to begin with, just because they bought their ride.
Mm-hmm.
The licensing system needs to be rehauled. It should be more stringent to get a Cup ride, and also it would fix, Lana Castle and want to give them credit because they brought this up, and I thought it
Parker.
was brilliant. Parker Kligerman brought it up, but it would give the drivers something they could. So we got about 10 minutes left. So yeah, we can talk about this. It would give the drivers something they have more than just a sponsor to take to a team. because not just anybody, you won't be able to just put anybody you want in your car. You're not going to be able to just take, even though Connor Zilic, for example, is a phenomenal race car driver, you're not going to be able to take somebody like they did back in the day with a Casey Atwood, you know, one of those young and up and coming guys and move them through there faster than they should have been. And then in turn, their career and their possibility just gets destroyed. A Reed Sorensen, because we're all looking for the freshest face, the prettiest face that can also drive fast, that needs time to develop. We've seen it takes 3 years to develop in Cup on average. Even Chase Elliott took him 3 years to really find his footing. Kyle Larson, it took him quite a while in finding the right team combination mix, but he was continually winning and performing. So he still would have had his license points and everything. But like Rick Ware's son, Cody Ware, should not have been on the track.
Right.
Justin Haley would not qualify for a Cup license in my mind.
Well,
you're
with
going to have to, or more importantly, Corey LaJoy would never have qualified for a Cup license. I wouldn't have had those cars on the track for him to get into, and I wouldn't have had him on the track because he has 0 wins to his name in a top 3 national series.
yeah,
In order to get to Cup, you don't have to be a champion at the bottom 2, but you need to have a body of work that shows you've
yeah,
got a certain number of top 10s, top 5s, and wins, because that shows you have the racing etiquette to race up front, which you need to have to race against the big boys on Sunday.
with only a few minutes left, with what's going on in the charter world today?
And what? Oh, the charter world. Yeah. So it turns out we got lucky by waiting.
You got lucky that I got sick last night.
Yeah, Blake wasn't feeling good. Poor baby.
Yeah, for me,
I don't feel good. Poor me. I understand. But we lucked out because today in Twitterland, apparently the judge ruled in favor of the team. So that's a change. They said not only do they get the injunction, but NASCAR has to let them sign the charters while suing them. They have to let them proceed with the sale and purchase of the third charters. And so what this really means, unless an appeals court or even and they take it to if they take it to a higher one than that, what that would mean is no matter what the outcome of the lawsuit, the teams win. They can't get any worse than the deal that everybody else got who decided not to sue.
Yep.
And if they win, only NASCAR only loses in this deal because now they've got mud on there. So now really, NASCAR, I think, really has an incentive to negotiate, because if this ruling stands, and NASCAR still can appeal it, so we'll see. But if the ruling stands, it can only go bad for NASCAR. They either have to let them race as chartered teams when they lose, or they're going to get a better deal. And we don't know what the possibility of them getting a better deal is or winning on the merits of their other points until the discovery phase happens and all the different information is disclosed about NASCAR's financials, Jim Francis financials. SMI is not named in it, so I don't think they're in it. But like just the total, how the money in the sport really works gets named. Then all of a sudden, it may change the picture for the teams and their charters and how the money is awarded and why the teams deserve so much more. And maybe they'll get more revenue from the name and likeness, which was a big point of contention by 2311 for things like the Netflix deal, a cut of the gambling monetization, more of the money at the track and the merchandise, a portion of the ticket sales, all these things. Because when we talk about it from a monetary standpoint, we think about it, the Cup guys get a cut of the pie from the Cup TV deal, but the tracks are getting paid 3 times at a minimum, not including any
if they have the tracks in the vicinity.
Yeah, but they're getting paid at least 2, most of the times 3, because of the companion events. So they're getting TV deal 1 for Cup, TV deal 2 for Xfinity, and potentially DVD deal or truck, and potentially whatever series they're not missing, plus any other series that run there, Indy, Formula One, plus any concert events, plus any lower series like Whelen Modified, super late models, etc. So really, the tracks are making a metric ton of money, and they were getting a large portion of the pie before. Now the teams apparently, I think they get, according to what was said by Bob, I think closer to like 45-50% of the pie, which they should have been. When you're asking me to race these super expensive cars every week that I have to pay for anytime you develop a new change. I got to fund the change. I
Hmm.
should be getting more money. And you want me to, they just released also, I don't know if you saw it, but they just released the driver salaries for Formula One. I don't know how accurate they are, but essentially, like Max Verstappen's making, I think they said like 35 million, 40 million, or whatever, racing for
He's
Red Bull.
making 40 million a year
All right,
before
so
anything.
40 million before anything else. To Kyle Larson,
I
who
knew that.
probably
I
made
knew that because his contract was announced after he won his first championship.
okay, so he's making 40 million a year, driving what 12, 14 races a year, once a month, essentially.
I think
I
it's
don't
more
remember
than
how
that.
many Formula One races there are, but I know it's like half of what NASCAR has. But he's getting paid stupid money, racing significantly less, and
Oh yeah,
go ahead.
I
No, that's
heard your
Wally.
cat.
Wally. He's like, yeah, yeah. He's like, yeah, that's right. This is bullshit. I'm like, I agree, Wally. How many races were in the Formula One's calendar this year?
I'm getting there. Hold on. I had
You
to
need
make sure I was
to
on the right page.
yeah.
They have 24 races, bud.
Okay, so they're closer to my schedule,
Yep.
and their guys make stupid money.
Yep.
So I in shrinking my
I knew
schedule,
it was
my guys
more
are
than
gonna
what
get
you were
paid.
saying. I was like, no, hold
Yeah.
on.
So, but my point is, Max Verstappen, now a three-time world champion or four, doesn't matter. Um, get paid 40 million to Kyle Larson, who wins in anything he gets in, or Kevin Harvick, who was a continual contender, Denny Hamlin, who whether he gets a championship or not, still one of the greatest stock car drivers ever with three Daytona 500s, almost 60 wins, you know, continued championship appearances. Like these guys should be making $10 million a year minimum, and
Minimum. Hmm.
minimum $10 million a year. And the way you get there to me is, well, one, we shrink the field of races, which gives you more purse money per event, so the teams can pay their drivers more. The teams are going to get more money for each charter because there's not going to be anybody else there to take the money. It's going to be those. If we had to reduce the field to 36 people, then that's it. There's 36 spots at the table. If you want to come and play, then you have to go buy an existing team, or you have to buy somebody out, which makes their charters worth even more.
My question is if let's say NASCAR does want to do that, charter teams only, kind of like F1.
Mm-hmm.
F1 only has you can't just show up and race an F1 race. You have to be a
And
part
you
of
shouldn't.
the series. So how about NASCAR just makes 40 charters?
That's fine, but
And
they should all be full at all times.
so so that gives you the ability for them to they let's put it out the right way. They awarded the first 36
Mm-hmm.
if you were already there. The poor Wood brothers had to buy one, and they're the oldest damn team
Mm-hmm.
because of their situation at the time. So, we talked about this before. If you're say you're junior motorsports and you win the championship 3 years in a row, well, hey, we're going to award you a cup charter, but you can't sell it.
I don't think I would award it. So here's the issue I have with awarding anybody a charter going forward now, past this agreement. The charters are like owning stock in the stock market or stock in a company. If you give it away, you devalue the other players at the table. So you have to offset their costs somehow. So if you give it out now, NASCAR, if I give out a charter, I have to give you a financial compensation because I just took your charter that, let's say, it was worth 10 million and I reduced it to 7 million because now that purse
I
that
get,
was
yeah,
just got
yeah.
distributed to more people. So I have to have some type of financial exchange to give the other people who've already invested in it by re-upping with the charters and so forth. I'm okay with having the other four, but I think those other four should be that NASCAR. If let's say there's 40 charters, the 36 are spoken for. There's four spots left on the grid that we could field. Those four remaining spots are for two purposes only.